Hello mga ka-learners! Let's start another discussion which is all about Earth and Life Science. Again, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Sir Arnold Ryan. And for today, let's talk about the movement of plates and formation of the faults and the faults. Therefore, ano nga ba ito, no? Remember that the movements of the Earth's plates leads to rocks being compressed into each other. So, dahil dyan, nagkakaroon ng formation of folds and faults. Ang mga fold, it forms when the layers of rock bend around. At ang faults naman ay nangyayari kapag ang mga rock layers actually break. And in some cases, slide over each other. So, para mas maunawaan natin to mga ka-learners, let's start, no? Lesson objectives natin ay ang mga sumusunod. Identify the 3 types of plate movement from a short excerpt. Expound 3 types of plate movement based on the plate tectonics theory using an illustration, and cite specific examples of landforms as outcomes of the plate movement. So, what is a tectonic plate muna? So, therefore, tectonic plates fall, large slabs yan ng rocks that divide Earth's crust, moves constantly to reshape the Earth's landscape. Yung system ng ideas behind plate tectonics theory suggests that Earth's outer shell, o yung tinatawag nating lithosphere, is divided into several plates that glide over the Earth's rocky inner layer above the soft core or mantle. Yung mga plates act like a hard and rigid shell compared to the Earth's mantle. The mantle sits between the Earth's dense, very hot core, its thin outer layer, which is the crust. So here in our next slide, so meron tayo ditong ipi-play. Ayan. So, explain ko lang din po, no? 5 billion years ago, a nebula cloud of gas and rock began to come together by gravity. As it condensed, pieces of debris collided with each other. At dahil doon, friction, nagkaroon ng friction of their collision, ng kanilang collisions, heated the rocks. One of those hot new planets was our young Earth at the time. Its interior hot from friction and the decay of the radioactive elements, reached over 25,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Slowly, yung hot earth natin ay nag-develop ng cooled crack crust. Yan yung tinatapakan natin. Those cracks form the boundaries of a series of crustal tectonic plates. Today, it is broken into 17 pieces. And the heat from the Earth's formation is incredibly still trapped inside our planet. So, nasa loob lang yan ng ating planet Earth. Yung mga rising molten heat forces our plates apart in some places and pushes them together in others. When plates pull apart, a diverging rift develops. Volcanic eruptions occur here. When continental tectonic plates collide, mountains rise. And continents joined. Terrible earthquakes result. When ocean plates converge, volcanoes explode. And tsunamis drown the thousands. Alright, so see, that's an example ng illustration kung paano nagsimula ang plate tectonics natin. Alright, now with that, let's talk about the theory of plate tectonics. The theory of plate tectonics is what brings together continental drift and seafloor spreading. Plates are made of lithosphere topped with oceanic or continental crust. Ito mga plates na to ay nagbo-move, no, doon sa Earth's surface by seafloor spreading. Yung convection in the mantle drives the seafloor spreading. Oceanic crust is created at the mid-ocean ridges. Yung crust nagbo-move siya outward from the ridge over time. Therefore, the crust may eventually sink into the mantle and be destroyed. If the continent sits on a plate with a mid-ocean ridge, the continent will be pushed along. So see, nakakaroon ng plate motion or tectonic shift. So what are the 7 major tectonic plates? Medyo familiar na tayo. Malamang baka na-discuss na sa inyo ito before, but let's elaborate more. Okay, let's talk about the African plate. The African plate contains the whole continent of Africa as well as the surrounding oceanic crust ng Atlantic Ocean. It looks like a larger boundary, no, ng African continent. Yung Somali plate is positioned siya doon sa East African Rift Zone. Ito ay nagde-develop ng rift zone gradually separating the east part ng continent. Yung west side ng African major plate diverge from the North American plate. Therefore, itong divergent plate na to na boundaries form the mid-oceanic ridges or rift valleys. Ang African plate ay 4th largest tectonic plate, no, with 23,700,000 square miles of the Earth. Another is what we call the Antarctic plate, 5th largest tectonic plate yan, holds the entire continent ng Antarctica, including the surrounding oceanic crust. It is surrounded by the parts of African, Australian, Pacific, and South American plates. Antarctica was once grouped as part of the supercontinent Gondwana with Australia and India. Pero 100 million years ago, Antarctica broke apart to its current location at the South Pole. It is estimated that the Antarctica major plate moves about 1 centimeter per year. Another is the Eurasian plate, 3rd largest tectonic plate yan. Consists of the most part ng Europe, Russia, and parts of Asia. This plate is sandwiched between the North American and African plates of the north and west sides. The west side has a divergent boundary with the North American plate. The south side of the Eurasian plate neighbors the Arabian, Indian, and Sunda plates. It straddles Iceland where it tears the country into 2 separate pieces. On average, the Eurasian plate moves about 1/4 to half an inch per year. Another is the Indo-Australian plate. 6th largest tectonic plate yan. Major plate combining the Australia and India plates. But they are widely considered to be 2 separate plates. Ang Indo-Australia plate stretches from Australia to India. It also includes the oceanic crust ng Indian Ocean. The northeast side ng Australian plate converged with the Pacific plate. Australia, India, and Antarctica were once connected, no? Dahil nga sa dating supercontinent na Gondwana. As part of the supercontinental cycle, India drifted apart, moving northwards. North American plate, 2nd largest tectonic plate yan. Smaller than lang siya sa Pacific plate. This plate extends all the way over the North Pole and even contains Siberia and the northern island of Japan. It also includes Greenland, Cuba, and the Bahamas. The interior part ng North American plate contains a giant granitic craton. It believes that the North American craton is 4 billion years old. Another is what we call the South American plate. 7th largest yan with 16,800,000 square miles. It includes the continent ng South America at large portion ng Atlantic Ocean. On the west side ng South America, it experiences devastating earthquakes due to the convergent plate tectonic boundaries. But the eastern side, it lies in Atlantic Ocean and divergent plate boundary. Alongside the African plate, itong dalawang plate boundaries na to ay nagpo-pull apart from each other creating some of the youngest oceanic crust on the planet. And the last one is what we call the Pacific Plate. Largest yan among the plates, na kung saan this plate is comprised of the western portion of North America and Alaska na nag-stretch across the Pacific Ocean. And of course, it encompasses the east coast of Japan and Indonesia. The Pacific Plate's boundaries primarily comprise the Pacific Ring of Fire. The Ring of Fire, also referred to as the Circum-Pacific Belt, isa siyang lugar ng Pacific Ocean characterized by active volcanoes and frequent earthquakes. The majority of the Earth's volcanoes and earthquakes takes place along the Ring of Fire. So here, ito yung Ring of Fire natin. Makikita naman natin na medyo malaki ang kanyang scope. Therefore, Earth resembles a giant jigsaw puzzle talaga. That is because its outer surface is composed of about 20 tectonic plates, enormous sections of the Earth's crust that roughly fit together and meet at places called plate boundaries. So, moving on. So, ano ba tong 3 types ng ating plate boundaries na to? So, we have the following: divergent plate boundary, convergent plate boundary, and the transform plate boundary. So, Earth tectonic plates fit together talaga, and of course, let's discuss each plate boundary. Let's start with convergent boundary. Convergent plate boundaries are locations where lithospheric plates are moving towards one another. So, meaning to say, papunta sila sa isa't isa. So, therefore, pag nagbanggaan yung dalawang yan, nagkakaroon ng collision. And it can produce earthquakes, volcanic activity, and crustal deformation. So, when 2 plates come together, it is known as convergent boundary. Yung impact niyan, kapag nag-collide yung dalawang plates, can cause the edges of one or both plates to buckle up into a mountain ranges, or pwede din namang mag-bend down papunta sa seafloor trench. A chain of volcanoes often forms parallel to convergent plate boundaries, at kung saan ito ay nagkakaroon ng powerful earthquakes common along these boundaries. Yung Pacific Ring of Fire is an example yan ng convergent plate boundary. Also, when continental and oceanic plates collide, so lupa tapos tubig, no, nagbanggaan yan, it forces down into the mantle na tinatawag nating subduction process. Nagkakaroon ng partial melting dito. So, as the oceanic plate descends, it is forced to higher temperature environments. At a depth of 100 miles or 160 kilometers, materials in the subducting plate begin to approach their melting temperatures and process of partial melting begins. So these are all examples ng convergent plate boundary natin sa Washington, Oregon coastline of the US, Himalaya Mountain, and Zagros Mountains in Iran. So, divergent plate boundary naman ay boundaries, locations where plates are moving away from one another. Palayo naman sila sa bawat isa. At the crest of the uplift, the overlying plate is stretched thin, breaks, and pulls apart. So, divergent boundary, it happens when 2 tectonic plates move away. Along these boundaries, earthquakes are common and magma rises from the Earth's mantle to the surface, solidifying to create a new oceanic crust. Ang Mid-Atlantic Ridge is an example ng divergent plate boundaries. Yan. The rising convection current below lifts the lithosphere, producing a mid-ocean ridge. So may tinatawag tayong fissure. Ito ay isang fracture or crack sa lupa or sa rock along which there is a distinct separation. Kapag nagkaroon ng fissure, new magma flows into the fissure. Then, nagkakaroon ng yung magma, nagsusolidify yan, and paulit-ulit lang yung proseso. Okay, divergent plate boundary, oceanic naman. Ito yung mga examples natin, yung Mid-Atlantic Ridge sa may Iceland at yung Mid-Atlantic Ridge between North America and Africa. In terms of divergent plate boundary in continental, as the rift grows deeper, it might drop below to sea level, allowing ocean waters to flow in. This will produce a narrow, shallow sea within the rift. This rift can then grow deeper and wider. If rifting continues, a new ocean basin could be produced. So dito, kapag ang 2 plates ay naghilaan palayo, may normal faults na nade-develop. And earthquakes happens. Tapos, yung napo-form dyan, yung mga streams and rivers, ayan, mga shallow sea nga, sabi ko na po kanina, will flow into the sinking rift valley to form a long linear lake. Another po sa continental, ito mga examples natin, yung East Africa Rift Valley at yung Red Sea is an example of more completely developed rift. In terms of transform plate boundary, ang transform plate boundaries are locations where two plate slides pass to one another. Two plate sliding, kapag nag-slide, nagkiskisan sila, no? One of the most famous transform plate boundaries occurs at the San Andreas Fault Zone. Yun ay nag-extend ng underwater. Natural or human-made structures that cross a transform boundary are offset, splitting into two pieces and carried into opposite directions. Ang mga rocks dito ay nakaline ng boundary na nagpo-pulverize talaga ng plates, nag-grind sila at nagkikreate ng linear fault valley or undersea canyons. Earthquakes are common along these faults, in contrast sa convergent and divergent boundaries. Dito, yung crust nagka-crack talaga at yung nagkakaroon ng pagkasira. And it's not created or not destroyed. The fracture zone that forms a transform plate boundary is known as transform fault. So ito yung isang example na binanggit ko kanina, mga ka-learners, yung San Andreas Fault along Mexico and papunta sa north ng San Francisco. So yan yung isa sa pinakamahaba talaga na fault na meron tayo sa mundo. So this is an example na activity. Kapag ginawa nyo to, San Andreas card trick, no? Yung cards, stip mo lang among their faces, then forming a broad zone of shearing between your unaffected hands. Ito yon. Then, yan na yung San Andreas Fault. So the formation along the transform plate boundary in California can be visualized by placing a deck of cards between your hands in a praying position. Okay, another po ang transform plate boundary sa Alpine Fault of New Zealand. Actually, historically, when this fault ruptures, it produces an earthquake about magnitude 8.0. The glaciers and rivers have removed the rest of the material and spread it across the lowland plains or into the seafloor. Yung Alpine Fault has a high probability of rupturing into the next 50 years. Ito yung mga faults naman. So pag pinag-usapan naman natin yung faults, iba siya sa fault. Ang faults po ay nagre-resulta sa compressional stresses or shear stress acting over considerable time. Because yung kanilang strain rate ay mababa at ang temperature naman ay mataas, yung mga rocks ay normally nagko-consider nagiging brittle sila or marupok. Then, or malutong, can behave in a ductile manner, resulting in such folds. Yung fold kasi, ito yung tinatawag nating undulation or waves in the stratified rocks. Stratified rocks were originally formed from sediments that were deposited in flat horizontal sheets. But in a number of places, yung kanyang strata are no longer horizontal, but they are warped. Sometimes yung warping ay gentle, na yung inclination niya ay talagang perceptible. Then, faults vary widely in size. Some are several kilometers or even hundreds of kilometers across. Or ibang measurements naman are just few centimeters or less. So, on your screen, nakita natin mga examples ng faults natin. So, nangyayari lang to kapag when rocks deform from plastic deformation, they can bend and fold. And the process of folding occurs when rock is compressed, as it is along colliding plate boundaries. So, meron tayong tinatawag na anticlines. Anticlines are folded rock formations that have an upward convex shape. It looks like letter N, pwede rin namang uppercase na letter A. Ito tinatawag na oldest beds at core. Ang mga anticlines are folded convex upward. Ang anticlinorium is a large anticline on which minor folds are superimposed. And a synclinorium is a large syncline on which minor folds are superimposed. Asymmetrical fold is one in which the actual plane is vertical. Ang mga asymmetrical fold, pag sinabi natin asymmetrical, hindi parehas o hindi magkamukha yung fold sila. ay talagang overturn fold or overfold as the actual plane inclined to such an extent na yung strata niya ay overturned. Also, may mga tinatawag tayong synclines. Ang synclines naman ay downward naman. Downward arc or curve of a fall. So dito, nag-bend yung rock, nagkakos siya ng forces within the crust of the earth. Then yung forces na yon, it causes the falls range from slight differences in pressure in the earth's crust to a large collision of the crust tectonic plate. Here, ito yung younger layers closer to the center of the structure. It is recognized by a sequence of rock layers that grow progressively younger, followed by the youngest layer at the fault center of the hinge. May iba't ibang paraan yung synclines kung paano siya ma-form. Pwede siyang topography. So, dito kasi kapag sa topography, synclines existing at young landscapes affect the topography. But at long existing or older landscape, they have no necessary effects. Yung landforms naman, synclines do not basically create landforms, but for a few exemptions. If the rocks occupying the center of the syncline are soft, the effect of erosion on them will bring about a valley. And if the core occupying the rocks are hard, erosion, when it occurs or happen, will carve them into a peak. So again, mga ka-learners, those are all examples ng faults. So lahat po yan ay bahagi ng ating pinag-uusapan dito sa ating presentation and topic for today. And with that, let's proceed with our activity. So here we have directions. From the word pool given below, identify the term being described in the following statements, and we will give you 3 minutes. And 3 minutes starts now, mga ka-learners. Pwede nyo po yung sagutan and try to recall kung ano yung ating mga discuss from the topic. So we have number 1, this phenomenon is created during transformation of plates movement and is a kinematic phenomenon caused by the relative density of oceanic lithosphere and relative weakness ng asthenosphere. Number 2 naman ay yung plate movements creates mountain and volcanic arc. Marianas Trench is also created by this movement. Number 3, the movement of this plate is towards the opposite direction or moving away from each other. Number 4, it's a process rising up hot, dense liquid materials and creates new seafloor. Number 5, this is a theory that supports continental drift theory and seafloor spreading. So we have the following choices: plate tectonic, transform fault, convergent, seafloor spreading, and divergent. Time check tayo, mga ka-learners. We have 1 minute and 45 seconds left. Good luck, mga ka-learners. Time check, we have 45 seconds left, mga ka-learners. Good luck. Time is running out, mga ka-learners. Ten seconds left. Time's up. Okay. And this is our answer card. Check your own paper. Transform fault, convergent, divergent, seafloor spreading, and plate tectonics. If you got 5, congratulations. And for our references, alright, that's it mga ka-learners. Again, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Sir Arnold Ryan. Thank you so much mga ka-learners. See you soon!